Welcome to the RAG Podcast, the weekly show where I interview recruitment owners who are prepared to tell their unique story of growth. This is all in aid of helping future and existing recruitment businesses who are looking to do similar things. Now, growth means different things to different people. So by tuning in every week, you're no doubt going to find information that's relevant to you.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RAG Podcast. On this week's show, I'm so excited. As always, I'm excited. But this week, I'm really excited because Chris Redmond, the founder and the chief exec of Redholt, is coming back on the show for the third time. Chris was a guest I interviewed when I had the in-person recordings back in 2019. So Q4 2019, he came into my office in East London and we recorded in person together. And it was one of my favorite ever episodes. It was an episode that stood out because Chris was so open and had a really clear vision for how he wanted to run his business. So in 2019, he wanted to be a digital nomad. They'd literally shut the office. They'd just got rid of their office. They'd given up on the lease and they were going completely remote. And back then, pre-pandemic world, I'll be honest, I thought he was a bit mad. I thought he was a bit crazy. I was like, I get the whole flexible working, but to only work in coffee shops and bars and from the kitchen table when you've got an established company was going to be dangerous. 6 months later, the world went into lockdown. 9 months later, he came back on my daily show, the RAG Report, and told quite openly about how well his business was getting on and the fact that actually the systems he'd put in place pre-pandemic meant that he had no real disruption at all. Fast forward another 3 years, and now Redholt are still only 8 people, but running internationally. Chris lives in the UAE, in Dubai, and he's still got a team in the UK. They operate mainly in the media and broadcasting space. They are retained headhunters with a forensic, process-driven way of working. So all their projects are retained. They call them campaigns, and they have a unique methodology of how they recruit, which we talk about in this episode. And Chris has built a business which to date has been an amazing lifestyle business running at about 60% profit. Moving forward, he's now got the challenge of building a business that can be sold. He wants to have an exit plan, and it's how does he navigate now, making it not the Chris Redmond show because he's the sole BD provider to the company. How does he build a business that generates its own new clients, gets more from existing clients, and has the infrastructure and the people big enough, not too big, but big enough that they could exit the business in the future. So in this episode, we talk about everything and all of those things, plus his personal life. This guy's lost 35 kilograms in weights in the last 6 months. Having a meeting at the doctor's, telling him he was on a road to disaster. He's lost 35 kilos. He looks incredible. So there's loads of professional and personal development and business or recruitment agency growth stories in this episode. You don't want to miss it. Without further ado, Chris, welcome back for the third time to the RAG Podcast.
It's a pleasure, Sean. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries. We're doing this in I'm in beautiful sunny Sheffield. You're in the miserable Dubai location that always makes me feel jealous. Previously, we did it together in London, then we did it remotely in the pandemic, and now we're as I mentioned on my post today before recording, we're doing this. We're both running quite global businesses now, even though Sheffield doesn't sound global, my client base truly is. Chris, do us a favor, mate, before we go and tell the story and everything else, for anyone who doesn't know you and Redholt, will you just give us the bird's eye, like no detail to the background, just who you are, location, headcount, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Chris Redmond. I'm the chief executive at Redholt. I'm one of the co-founders with my wife, Amanda. Redholt is an organization that we've built around a really distinct clinical forensic methodology. Our clients are global, and although we're becoming much more specialized now, they're in a range of different sectors. I think we've got 8 people in the business now, and they are located across our office in Essex, which is in Chelmsford, and here in Dubai.
Yeah. So you came on the show in 2019, Q4 20, which is mental to think that's
crazy.
4 years ago. I mean, I remember it really well. And you at that point, I think was a business 2 or 3 years old. You started a similar time to me, didn't you? Around 2017.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3. Yeah.
You'd just given notice in your office, and I posted about it this morning. I remember thinking this guy's gone a little bit doolally here, like he's going completely remote. And I liked the thought of working from home at the time, but I didn't realize, and I kind of felt like the world was going that way. But you'd already made the plunge to say, no office, remote. Yeah. And I remember saying to you, so you're going to work in coffee shops, bars, restaurants, from the kitchen? You're like, yeah. And yeah. So what? So how do you, just recapping on from then to the pandemic, which was a 6 to 9 month period, how set up were you when the world changed? How would you describe your emotion? Because you guys shouldn't have seen much change.
No, we didn't. It was like, we were so lucky. We didn't have, no one had the playbook for what was happening then, but I was looking around me and I can remember calling you one of the first nights and me and you going, what's going on? What's going to happen? And then we did the Code Red series webinars. Yeah. I don't know if you remember them. And I felt as though I was watching and talking to everyone else in our kind of peer group, other founders and owners and MDs, and they were scrambling. There's a lot of wheel spin happening at that time, but we were already used to running the business without having line of sight on all of our consultants and being objective driven. So for us, it was like, okay, we're just settling into another day. It's just that we don't have the choice to all meet up, because we used to meet up with the team at the start of the week and at the end of the week. We'd always start the week with each other and wrap up the week with each other, typically somewhere cool in the city or something like that. So, it was a good springboard into the week and a good wrap up. But we just carried on. It was, it's like we'd been doing practice laps, and then COVID hit and everyone else started with cold tires and we'd already been doing practice laps.
Yeah, and it was just like systems and processes are built. And then when did you, because you came back on the show, and like I say, I felt like I knew you would be, but you were thriving in the pandemic. And then we worked together on Project 500 where we raised all the money for laptops, which was great. And then after that, I remember a time where you said to me, I think we need a base now. We need to go back. And you built, was it the clubhouse you built in your...
That's right. Yeah, it was the clubhouse. That's right. So we had, I got to a point where my philosophy altered, the pendulum swung, and I thought, actually, every tribe needs a cave. We need a home, because what I could see was we're so methodology driven, and I could see that because we were not together, everyone was putting their own different personality traits and slightly nuanced versions of the methodology. And I was like, no, absolutely not. That's not how this kitchen works. We need to all do the same thing. And that's mostly because I do all the BD, always have done for Redholt. So I need to know that the promises that I'm making are being absolutely forensically kept by all of our consultants. So I thought we need to get everyone back together, because they learn a lot from being with each other. So the empty space above the building that was our garage, we paid, I think it was about 20 grand or so, and converted it into an 8-man office. And we started getting people into the clubhouse, and I loved it up there. There were some of the funniest times in the business up there with the whole team. But we got because we were working in multiple time zones, we had another gate made in the fence so that the guys could come in themselves. They didn't have to come through the house, and they could just go straight in, because we were running campaigns in places like Bangkok and the Far East. So the guys would be starting these campaigns, because we host them, we concierge all of our campaigns for our clients. They'd be starting at 4 a.m. We'd be sitting down having our breakfast at the house, and we'd see people emerging from the door of the clubhouse. We'd be like, oh yeah, James has been running a campaign in Thailand this morning.
Campaign, for a lot of contingent recruiters, they'll be like, what's he on about? Like, you just work jobs, you get jobs, you work jobs. So what's a campaign?
Yeah, so stage 4 of our process is what we call the crescendo moment. And it's where we orchestrate all of the interviews with all of the hiring managers in one day, but we top and tail it with a kickoff and a wash up. And we've got specific methodologies for those components as well. So the way that we kick off, they'll have chosen who they're going to meet anyway, because they've seen the digital shortlist. But we actually have got this graph where we plot the coordinates of the candidates that they're going to meet, and we disclose what our interpretation of each candidate actually is, so that the people who are going to be doing the interviews get immersed in what is going to be incumbent on them that day to make the decision. And we make sure that we say to them at the start, like, welcome to your campaign day. At the end of this day, you're going to be crystallizing your decision on who you want us to extend an offer to. So we excite them about it. We create that experience.
You're setting an expectation, aren't you? That
Yeah, absolutely. It's like neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah, we're softly sowing the expectation that you're here today because we're gonna do this, and we build that up not just on the day, throughout the timeline, because we milestone everything, Sean. Heavily project focused, and then at the end of the day, we've got a similar methodology to helping them crystallize a decision in a very objective way, so that everybody feels heard, everybody feels as though they've shared their opinion on which candidate was good and not, and why. And then we bring it all together and we help them see visually who they should extend the offer to. And more often than not, there'll be more than one candidate in what we call the yes box. And we say to them, look, how many of these candidates do you want to extend an offer to? And sometimes they'll be in there to make one offer. But if it's a sales role, particularly, and they've got more than one candidate in the yes box, they'll say, yeah, go for it. Extend them all an offer.
Wow. So if to understand your business model, you're the face, a bit like me. We talked about our profile being similar. We'll talk about it later, but we're both the kind of front end of the business, and then once people come through you then they are assigned a project manager, if you like, who's going to then take their campaign, their project, and run it end to end. And then
absolutely,
does every individual in the business run their own campaigns? Do they work together? How do you structure that?
No, they run their own campaigns. They've got autonomy within the methodology. As long as they're following that, they can do it. They set within 2 hours of a role briefing. We always send a milestone table. So we've got an email template that we send that stipulates everything that's going to happen throughout the course of our 5-stage process for them. And we put the dates for every single thing. And we also highlight the dates when there is going to be an activity that's incumbent on the client. And then when they come back and say, yeah, those dates are fine for me, we lock those dates into their diary. So for example, feedback on the shortlist. Sometimes you can be waiting for ages for that. You sent your shortlist. We haven't had feedback yet. Well, we lock that date in a week or 2 weeks before. So when we send the digital shortlist, they know that they've got time. These time-starved, busy executives have actually got time and have had time protected in their diary. And on occasions, we actually send them a digital voucher via the Starbucks app to go and get themselves a coffee, take their laptop and watch all the videos and the psychometric report on our digital shortlist. So, we encourage them to do it and we make it a part of the experience for them.
You've totally changed the process of what most recruitment agencies do, right? I remember when we first met and we first started working together in 2019, I was really, really impressed with the way you took like a project management methodology from external industries and brought that into your own firm. And you did, we've hired through you and it is genuinely different, right? But how scalable is that? Because that's what I think a lot of people would say. You still got a relatively small team. How scalable is your model, or does it only lean to a face of a Chris Redmond and a strong group behind? Like, could it become the next Salt or Robert Walters or whatever, like with the model that you run?
So it's interesting, Sean, because up until probably 6 to 9 months ago, me and Amanda were in different spaces when it came to why we're doing Redholt. For Amanda, it's a lifestyle business, really nice lifestyle business. But for me, I've had big jobs in the corporate chapter of my career before coming into recruitment. And I've seen how the world works, in terms of transactions, M&A, manifesting an event. And I've always wanted to do something like that. And now we're both on the same page. So it's put the lens over the business for me to look through and go, and to answer that question. And the conclusion that I'm at is that because of the methodology, it's immensely scalable because you just drag and drop. We know exactly how our methodology works forensically. It's 5 stages on the surface, but underneath that, there's 84 intricate steps. Now, some of those things is a 2-minute job or a 30-second job, but all of them need to work. It's like I compare it to a Formula One car. Every nut and bolt has to be in the right place and done in the right way in order to move at the velocity that the potential suggests that it can. So, and because of that, we've been doing it for years. It's immensely scalable, and I've got a few ideas and a few conversations that I've got going at the moment around exactly how we do that in different jurisdictions in different regions, from Australia to Canada. We hire a lot in Canada, believe it or not, and it's a really, really active market. what one of the things that I'm quite looking forward to if we pursue this and these things crystallize is actually twice a year running a launch, what I'm going to call a launch pad, where we get these guys in who are going to start the Redholt pop-ups, and we do an immersive training session somewhere cool in Dubai for 10 days where I go through with them exactly, and I use some of my team like Meg and James and Amanda. This is exactly how we do it, and we train them so that when they go back to Singapore, Australia, wherever to start their Redholt pop-up, they know exactly how to do it.
So is it almost like franchising it a little bit?
Yeah, kind of. I affectionately use the term a hybrid franchise, because the thing that makes it different is I will treat those people like a team. They will be my management team. They'll be running their own business, but we'll have weekly management meetings where all the MDs will be on that call. So, they'll feel like they're part of a team. We'll all be using the same ATS. We'll all be using the same systems. And that's where I'll be able to see the metrics for governance of the business. So they'll be public within that group anyway, so that they can see each other's metrics. But I'll be able to see what each franchise owner has signed up to and whether or not they're compliant with the stipulations in the agreement.
The profile of you, though, and again, I think we're quite similar. Like, there's not that many people who are comfortable being on camera, standing up, constantly putting themselves out there, vulnerable, meeting clients, and I think for you to get the same level of traction in different regions, it's probably the limitation of my business, right? That there's only one of me, and I'm happy with that, and we built a business around it. But how do you is it to try and find like-minded people that could take a Redholt in those regions?
No, not really. I think that the idea would be for me to continue, to a large extent, Sean, what you helped start in my career, which is, to embrace the potential of social media and the proximity that can generate to markets that you'd never usually reach. And for me to become within that constellation that I've just mentioned, the kind of tip of the spear, the social capital associated to that can benefit the whole group. But actually underneath that, what I'm interested in is people who have got specialisms, because if there's one thing that I've learned since that first podcast where we were much more generalist, the traction that I've generated by rebranding myself as the recruiter of choice in the broadcasting and media market, it's been an amazing chapter of my career. The impact and the gravity that I've got within that circle, I'd never anticipated being able to generate that level of success. So dragging and dropping that model on how you create communities of specialisms, not just you being the specialist recruiter, developing a community around you would be part of the Launchpad event that we help people to do. But they've got to have their own specialism to be even considered really as being a lead for one of those hybrid franchises.
So for you, to go back on that, because if people don't understand what we're saying, so when we first met and worked together, you were pretty generalist. Your role was we forensically fill a role, like a sort of a mid to senior level role that a company was burning, needed support. So it was like anyone, anywhere needs a director type role fill in, you could do it. And I remember saying to you, there's benefits to that and there's negatives to that. One of the biggest negatives is you're never recycling the community. Like, so when you're always starting from scratch. Yep. Whereas, it's a bit like going, I'm really hungry, I'll go shopping, I'll fill the fridge. An hour later, I'm hungry, I'll just go back shopping. No, you go back to the fridge, right? And that's where a niche recruiter knows the market inside out, and they're constantly playing in the same room and playing musical chairs with people. And then I saw you pop up with OTT, which I didn't even know what that meant when you did it. So is that the terminology for online? OTT
Red. OTT. It's over the top. So OTT is, we'll probably all remember, and a lot of people will still have a box on top of their TV set, Sky Box or, out here a Do Box or whatever. That's where it comes from. But it's the provision of additional content services. That's where the term OTT comes from. So, but now it's often built into the TV set. Most TV sets now have got Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that stuff built in, but the legacy of the terminology still exists in terms of OTT. So it's that whole market. And actually, Sean, COVID was the springboard for that as well, because we were lucky to have some clients in that space, and where a lot of markets dried up and there was no recruitment. If there was one market in COVID that absolutely blossomed because we were all sitting at home watching Netflix, it was the OTT market. And it was total luck. I just happened to be increasingly specializing in roles for a couple of businesses there. And then off the back of that, that's become the market that I operate in predominantly. 95% of what I do personally is in the OTT broadcast and media sector. And I've actually taken that to another level as well. It's some of the initiatives that I'm running now are really strategic initiatives for that market. Outside of Redholt, we've got a thing called the Broadcast Talent Manifesto. I run it with a lady called Carrie Wotton, and it's because there's a deficit of talent with virtualized and cloud-based skill sets coming into broadcasting, because there's so many other sectors now that are more appealing for a younger generation and sexier, crypto and fintech and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. But actually, broadcast used to be the destination of choice from a career perspective. If you wanted to go and play with toys and you're a bit of a techie nerd, now there's loads of places where you can go and do that. So we've started the Talent Manifesto, and there's some massive names sponsoring that. We've got 6 digits worth of sponsorship behind that, and Carrie's the face of that. I support Carrie. We co-founded it, but that's just one thing that came off the back of that whole OTT thing.
What does that mean then? So you've created a training academy for people to develop basically a job in broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the technology in broadcasting now, I'll tell you, here's a good example, Sean. So in broadcasting, you'll be familiar with the fact that when you go and watch the football, there's a massive van outside the ground with a satellite dish on the top. Yeah, that's called an OB van, outside broadcast van. Those things, for generations, there's been engineers that live in those things. They spend their whole weekend in them. They live away from their families, and it's a truck, right? So there's thousands of those things driving all around the country, all around Europe, all around the world. It's an ecological disaster as well as affecting people's lives. Now, people don't need to do that. You can have live productions that are produced in the cloud. You can have the guy doing the commentary in one country, the guy doing the editing in a different country, and they're all doing it from home on their laptops. It's a totally different skill set to traditional broadcasting engineers, and the industry can't bring that skill set in quick enough to satisfy the demand that many studios and direct-to-consumer broadcasters are going to, where they're using these virtualized services. So Carrie and I identified this, and what we're doing is working with some massive names, the likes of Microsoft, for example, who are sponsoring some of these things to actually try and generate programs to elevate what careers in broadcasting are like. It's totally outside of Redholt, but I love it because it means I'm on the pitch with all of the companies that I'm actually trading with at Redholt and developing credibility and gravity with them through something that's not just trading with them. Yeah.
Wow. Makes sense. So another highlight over the last few years has been your switch to Dubai, right? So I remember my story. I was listening to the end of our episode this morning just to familiarize myself. And,
I listened to it last night.
I was with my ex, wasn't I? And I was referring to life with her in Essex, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've been out and seeing you in Dubai with my wife and stepkids. And when we first went to Dubai together, which was, I think, was it early 21? Yeah, it was early 21. I've loved the place since I got there in 24. I think 24
I remember.
was the first time I went, and I've been non-stop since. I think I've been about 12 times. And I've always said I want to live there. And when we went in 21, we both, Lauren had never been. She was like, I think I'd love to live here as well. I remember we got back, and I don't know what it was. I think you were videoed, I think your Instagram was there, and I said, oh, mate, I'm thinking of living in Dubai soon. And you were like, I'm literally sorting my visa out now.
Yeah, I remember that.
You did it and I didn't, and my reasons are more around the kids and their dad. I just don't think it's the right decision to take them away from, or to even put that out there yet. So I've given myself a 10-year timeline. Oh, yeah. When Amira and Gabriel are 18, which is 10 years, I think I'm well within my rights to do that. But you went and did it. So talk us through the journey of going, right, we're a UK-based business, very Essex-driven, internationally recruiting, I know that. And then you've just gone and up sticks and ended up in Dubai.
Yeah, so it was literally New Year's Day morning 2 years ago. Me and Amanda are sitting at our kitchen table at our house in Essex. and I'm 44 now. And I remember saying to her, business has done really well. We've got an amazing house in Spain, amazing house here in the UK, all the sexy cars, all the toys.
Yeah.
But what's the next chapter about? Where are we going? What are we actually doing? We're just making money.
You bought everything you need.
Yeah, it felt like that. And I was doing a lot of MBA lectures at the time for a university that was based out here called the Holt Business School, HULT. And from 50 on, I'd quite like to just do MBA lectures. I love doing them. It's when giving back and doing that with the full-time students and the executive students is brilliant. So I started talking about being closer to the campus, because the main campus is here in Dubai. Amanda had never lived abroad. I've lived in Italy and Malta before. And over the course of that breakfast, we made the decision that we were going to move to Dubai. I was like, well, it'd be good for me to be closer to the campus for the lectures. She wanted to do it anyway. We were digital nomads. We were well practiced at running the business. And the main thing actually, Sean, was that our boys are young, really young babies. So we were like, it's not going to disrupt their lives. Let's do it now. By April, we'd moved to Dubai.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. So that was.
Talk us through the process. Like, what did you to get out?
So we came out here. We came out here for like 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks, I think, in March. I found a company that I met a few companies and then decided on one to help set up the visas, set up the company, all of that sort of stuff. And then I said to them, look, how fast does this go? And they're like, it could take months. It's like, I have not got months. I need to get this done in 2 weeks. I'm here to get this done. So we got it all done in 2 weeks.
Why were you so desperate to do it so quick?
Because, to get all the visas and all that sort of stuff, because I just wanted to know that it was all done. And, my brother lives out here as well, and he runs a recruitment company, as you know, Sean. And it took him months to get everything set up. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to get it done. So we got it all done. We used a company called VirtuZone to get it done. And it was really, I would recommend them. There's some other ones. There's another one called Creative Zone. There's a guy called Lorenzo that runs that. I'd really recommend them. I think Lorenzo's a quality operator. Wow. And there's a number of others as well, like most things. But I actually spoke to someone yesterday who's moving their business out here, and I gave him some advice, and they're the two names that I mentioned, Creative Zone and VirtuZone. But I remember the hardest thing about it was actually setting up the bank account, because everything has to be sequential. You have to do this and you have to do that. So you can't do anything in parallel. And that's frustrating for someone like me. So it's like, okay, now that hoop's done. What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? And I can remember, setting up the bank account. I think it's a bit different now because there's a bank out here called WIU, W-I-U, and they do it all digitally, I think. But setting up the bank account, you had to go in and meet them face to face. It was like going back to the 80s or the 70s in the UK, You couldn't do it online, or not just online. So that was the hardest thing about it. But it's like anything, it's marathon mentality. As long as you continue to step forward, you're getting closer to the line. So that was what it was about. It's like, let's just get this done. We had to find schools, had to find where to live. So Amanda was dashing about doing all of that while I was jumping through all the governmental and regulatory hoops. But yeah, we got it done.
And what was it really like? I mean, we had dinner together in Dubai in January, was it? When was it?
Yeah, I think.
It was anyway. No, I think it was March, actually. But when we, it was about March, we went out. We did it the first half term. And I remember you saying, look, there's positives, but it's not as easy and it's not as rosy as people think. Like, what's the reality like of moving over to the UAE from the UK?
I have to admit, it's grown on me. I struggled for the first few months. I did really struggle. Amanda loved it from day one, like absolutely loved it. I've got 2 kids, as you know, Sean, in the UK, and I generally travel back twice a month for every other weekend to see them. So I struggled with that and being so far away from them. I just struggled with it at first. It grew on me. Now I absolutely love it. And the main reason actually is because, to me, being here, the air just stinks of ambition. Everyone's here with a sense of purpose. There's a 3 million person population in Dubai, and 85% of them are expats, working expats, right? And everyone's got to have a visa. So everyone's here to work. You know, there's the massive undercurrent of wanting to be successful. And I often describe it like that. You can smell it in the air. Everyone you meet, from the person that serves you at the coffee shop up to CEOs, everyone wants to collaborate on getting something done. I have to stop myself from, I could have a new business idea every day and find people that want to be a business partner.
But Amanda's like, not again. Come on.
She is. Yeah, you're right, mate. She is. But yeah, it grew on me, and now I absolutely love it. I was with someone the other day, and they said, "Do you think you'll ever move back to the UK?" And it was one of the first times where I thought, you know what, I'm not sure I will. Like, you know, we're loving it at the moment. And the best thing about it is just seeing our boys blossom. That, like, it's a great environment for kids.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, literally, the schooling's good. It's safe. The weather's obviously incredible for most of the year. How do you find the summer out there? Is that a time where you come back and spend some time?
We've done both. So we've been out here for nearly 2 years now. The first summer we stayed out here. And the thing is, Sean, the difference is, everywhere out here is built for mega heat, right? So everywhere's air conditioned, you know, everything's air conditioned. So, and there's so much to do. So that's just the way you deal with the summer. You don't really want to go out too much. And actually one of them, yeah, exactly. It's exactly. I used to work in Sweden, right? And it was exactly the same in Sweden. In the winter, you didn't want to go out. So it's just the opposite of that. This year we came back for the summer, and I really struggled with it. I really struggled with it because I was like, God, there's no routine. You know, you're visiting this person and that person. And, you know, we were living in our house in Essex, but I just couldn't get into the routine. I couldn't get into the routine of it. So me and Amanda have both said that next summer we're going to stay out here. We're going to stick it out here.
You've rented that house out now, haven't you? So
yeah. We've rented it out now. It was a no-brainer. You know, we had that massive house in Essex, and I used to use it every other weekend when I was back with my son. And I even had the cars just sitting in the garage for me to use. Economically, it's stupid, to be honest. It was a bit flamboyant. And so we've rented that out now. The guy who is living in that now is the CEO of the UK Supercar Rally. So he's got the garage full of some sexy toys.
Have you still got your cars? Have you got rid of them? Or what's the...
No, got rid of them. Got rid of them. It's got rid of them. Everything in the UK that I could shift or monetize has been.
And what do you do now? Do you just rent a hotel and... get
Airbnbs. So, and it's better as well. You know, my son is 13 and he loves his mountain biking. So when I go back now, he can be closer to his mates, because before I was driving from whatever airport I landed at all the way to Reading, picking him up, driving all the way to Essex, staying for all of Friday night and Saturday night, and then on Sunday dropping him back off in Reading and driving straight back to Heathrow, and then on the overnight flight home. Every other weekend. And now I can just get off at Heathrow, pick up the hire car, straight to Reading, stay somewhere in Reading with him. He can see his mates and go out mountain biking with them while I do whatever. Maybe see my daughter. She's 18 now, so she works and wants to do her own thing. But yeah, it's better. Logistically, it's much better.
Yeah. You just get a nice Airbnb or a hotel.
And I like it, actually. I kind of like, I'm quite I don't even like having a desk, Sean. You know, that's probably where the digital nomad thing originated from. So for me, staying in different Airbnbs and new places is kind of exciting. I quite like it.
It sounds amazing. What's it been like running the business from Dubai? So you've still got a team in the UK. How do you manage the communication? How do you manage the relationship with them? Because that must be, some of them must find it difficult to see you two living in Dubai and they're not, and it looks cool and it's and it's not. And how do you manage that?
You know, well, we fly them all out here every 6 weeks. We always do that. We've always done that. And it's quite interesting because I sort of feel as though they're maybe even getting a bit bored of it. You know, at first it was like, we get flown out to Dubai for a week every 6 weeks. And now it's like their second home. You know, we rent Airbnbs for them, so we put them all in apartments. And at first we were going out, taking them out to nice restaurants and all that sort of stuff. And everyone wanted to do that. And we run the incentives as well when they come out here. And for the last one, They were like, can we do something other than just going to a Michelin star restaurant and an amazing bar? We were like, yeah, what do you want to do? Maybe just go to a water park. We're like, okay, if that's what you want to do. They had a great time. I mean, I've never seen them smile more. It was like taking a bunch of 7-year-olds out. We had a fantastic time.
Take someone else next time. I'm always available.
Yeah, you're welcome to join, mate. Just
you want to bring me out? I'll do it.
Yeah. So, but I think we all still struggle with it on, with a certain degree of frequency, but that's no different to anything else. It works. We get them all out here regularly, so we're always together regularly. That's important. The only thing actually is probably more for me and Amanda, because now the time difference with the UK is 4 hours. So, me and Amanda generally don't finish working most nights. Once we've got the kids to bed, the laptops will be open and we'll be working. And we're working till 9 or 10 o'clock most nights. And if I'm being totally honest, more so Amanda than me, because she runs the delivery side of the business. So all the consultants are constantly speaking to Amanda, and she's constantly on at them because of the way we run our assignments. It's intense.
I'm interrupting today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Atlas, the only AI-first recruitment platform on the market. Now, imagine you had a genuine assistant following you around, listening to everything you said on the phone or in meetings, and then doing all the admin for you that you don't want to do. Well, that is actually possible now through Atlas CRM. It's the only platform with fully integrated AI, so there's no note-taking whatsoever and no need to buy any additional software. Now, they've got so many amazing features. Specifically, you can search beyond CVs. Okay, so all your interviews are added to the powerful search platform. And if a candidate mentions their experience on the phone or whatever, let's say they use React JS, JavaScript, this will be searchable for you if you use the keyword React. So it's not just searching CVs, it's searching every single communication touch point you've had with that person ever. Go to www.recruitwithatlas.com/therag and sign up on that page. All right, let's get back to the show.
So
you
reality.
Give yourself a bit of space in the morning because no one's awake. So you might get a couple of hours to go to the gym or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once you're on till a bit later.
That's it. That's exactly it. As you know, I've got a few other businesses now, so I'll generally do my local businesses here in the morning. But like, for example, yesterday morning, Amanda's got into golf, which I love. So she went for her first round of golf. We went onto the Emirates par 3 yesterday morning, and we got the chance to do that. We teed off at 9. We were done by 10. And then we start working, and we're still ahead of most of our markets. Yeah. So we just make it work. It's like anything, you find a way to make it work.
So tell me about your other businesses. So you mentioned you've got, I do see you are an ideas man. I'm an ideas man, but you're an ideas man. And like I said, I think I frustrate Amma quite a lot. Cause I'm like, I've got an idea, and he's like, oh, here we go. Like fucking, and some of them are crap. Some of them go nowhere, and others have made us a lot of money, right? So he knows and he's not an ideas guy. He doesn't want to be. He's got no intention of being. So he likes listening, and sometimes gives me this face like, here we go again. And you must get that from Amanda.
Oh, mate, yeah. I'm sure the look that Amma gives you when you say, I've got a new idea, that's the same that Amanda gives me. But the businesses that we've got, as you know, part of our methodology before we even approach people is for the last 3 years, we have done AI-based psychometric evaluations of high potential candidates before we approach them. And then when we approach them, that's part of the content that we use in order to make our approach seductive and arresting.
Just go and look at their social channels and
all of that. Yeah, it checks 3,000 data points within 5 seconds about the individual, and it can use a number of different internet gateways as a unique identifier for the individual. The CEO of that business in California, I've got to know really well. I think they went for their Series B or C funding recently, and Drew sent me a message and said, "Look, Chris, we could do with a distributor in the Middle East. Would you like to do it?" I was like, hell yeah, absolutely. For 3 years, I was the VP of indirect sales for a global software business. So I know how to set up partnership channels and alliances and all of that stuff. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So we sorted out a contract where I've got exclusivity on the UAE for the platform. They reskinned it for me. So my business is called Redholt AI. And the value added service that we do locally is not only selling them the platform, but the most important part is how they activate the value of the platform, which is me or my team here looking at their business and their sales methodology, because some of them are in real estate, some of them are like supercar resellers, right? You know, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, that sort of stuff. And when they're selling these high value things, not just about looking at the platform, it's about training your guys on how to integrate, how to use that platform into your sales approach. So that's the value of what we create as the value added reseller locally and all of the training.
Have you got a team on that, or is it just you?
So it's just me at the moment. There's someone that I've got lined up who's going to join me, because we're sort of beginning to get a bit of trajectory now in terms of ramping up our pipeline on that one. And that really excites me. So I really like that business. Then we've got a podcast studio. That's actually, I'm in the building. That's at a place called Radisson Red, which fits perfectly into the Redholt group. So that's really cool. We've got some real high profile people that are using it. We've signed up the British Business Group, which is massive in Dubai, and they've signed up for their whole first series of podcasts. And they're going to be interviewing some of their most influential members in the studio, and a few well-known celebrities from the UK that live out here that are going to use it as well. And then we were the seed investors, Amanda and I, for a company called BobCheck 3 years ago. And the guy that runs it is a guy called Dave Clark. He's over here at the moment, actually. He got here today. And BobCheck is software for recruitment businesses that checks people's profiles within the candidate ownership period to make sure that CVs that you've submitted speculatively or even have been for interview don't end up working at the organization that you sent them to without you knowing. It doesn't automatically release an invoice. It just notifies the agency that has happened. Right. And that's taken off. Like last week, we signed up a massive global recruitment organization. I'm not allowed to say who, but one of the biggest in their RPO division and their standard recruitment division for BobCheck. And we've saved £1.2 million of agency fees now. So that's going really well. We're 3 years into that business now, and I love running that with Dave. Yeah, it's a really, really solid platform. So they're the other things that I spend my mornings doing before Redholt comes online.
And is it, I suppose there's some of them are connected, but they're not all that connected. So you have to kind of get your mindset into a different market or a different pitch mode. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't struggle to do that. To be honest with you. I suppose that the reason that I don't is because if you think of each of those propositions, I've got proximity to them. They're all something that I either have loved, or can see the distinct value of. Like BobCheck, I run a recruitment business, so I can see what the value of that is. I don't really have anything to do with BobCheck, apart from working with Dave. You know, we've recently bought in a guy called Kalpesh Baxi as well, who's pretty well known in the industry. Yeah, so Kalps is on the board of BobCheck as well. We work really closely with Kalps. But I know that business really well because we actually ran the beta trial of BobCheck on Redholt and immediately found 50 grand's worth of fees. So we were like, that's just paid for our investment. Wow. Like, yeah, it's crazy. So there's that one. I love the whole podcast thing. You know, I could probably blame you for that, Sean. So the podcast studio is something that I'm really passionate about, and that we're 2 weeks into that and it's already making money. So that's fantastic. And I love the people that I meet from doing that. The people using the studio is brilliant for my networking for businesses. And the Redholt AI platform, that's part of the game changer within our mix. We use that at Redholt still. So I'm really passionate about that. So the way that I pitch that to other businesses comes across with real authenticity and conviction, because it's true. We use that in my own business. So although they're different, there's those distinct themes in terms of my proximity to each one of those. So I don't struggle to flip when it comes to speaking to people about them.
It's like you mentioned as well before the episode, you put me into your AI platform. So tell me what came out, because it was similar to your own profile.
Yeah, absolutely. So what it does at a surface level is it gives you a thing called a disc profile, and it also breaks that disc profile down to see what proportions of each color you are. So red people, Amanda's a red person, right? I call red people lead me, follow me, or get out of my way type people. Mm-hmm. Typically, sales leaders will be a red profile. Yeah. Blue people are diligent individuals. The main risk with the blue person is paralysis. accountants or scientific careers, generally what they'll gravitate towards. Green people are highly principled people. If you ask a green person to do something that violates their value set, you're going to have an uphill struggle trying to get them to agree to that. Me and you are yellow people. We're yellow.
Read the book Surrounded by Idiots, which taught me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yellow people typically end up in marketing jobs, actually. Yeah. So that's not surprising.
I think they share a little bit with the reds. I mean, you have a little bit of everything, don't you? Everyone's got a blend of all of them.
Absolutely.
I think there's definitely parts of me that are red, but I'm not a full-on red. I'm definitely more creative than some reds.
Well, I looked at your profile before coming on here, and it was amazing because me and you are like a DNA match. Like we're yellows. And the other thing, actually, Sean, that reinforces that to me is yellow people are typically people that will maintain and keep long-term relationships like me and you have with each other, and don't struggle to do that because they're natural networkers. Yellow people are. So I'll send you your profile afterwards. But the way we use that at Redholt, the way we use it at Redholt is when we're looking at a high potential individual, we don't just look at their professional competence and pedigree to match it with the job description. We look at their psychometric proclivities and their likely personality to match it with the culture of the business that we're intending to put them into. And then when we reach out and we're able to talk to them about that, it's highly, highly personalized. It's impossible for that to be spam when we do the reach out to them. And generally, that's why I think we get the phenomenal response rates that we do.
Driven through the AI, or are you doing that yourselves?
No, we download the psychometric evaluation, and then we will generally attach that for each candidate to the approach.
Yeah. How much are you seeing AI is going to keep changing and evolving the bit that you guys have to do?
Yeah, so the guys over at the manufacturer for that platform are always working on new ways to evolve it. The latest release is absolutely crazy, Sean. You know, I can go into the platform and write an email to someone, and if they're a red, it will rewrite that email for me on how that person will best receive that communication, or if they're a green. And you can even integrate it now. They've got an API into Gmail where the same thing happens in Gmail. So you'll be writing the email and it will be rewriting it for you in real time whilst you're typing it. It's unbelievable.
I've only just started using ChatGPT Writer, which is it's ChatGPT but built in your email. So like when you type in your email, you can just give it a prompt and it'll just bang out the big email. What I love is a prompt. It gives you a big email and then you just cut it down. I find it much faster than typing up myself. I mean, I don't send that many emails myself, but for my team as well, I think it's been amazing. It is nuts how much.
Let me ask you a question, Sean. Let me ask you a question. You just said you don't use email that much. What would you say the percentage blend is between how much you use WhatsApp to email?
I'd say 70% WhatsApp.
Yeah, me too. I'll tell you the way I feel about email.
And LinkedIn. Like, you know.
Yeah, me too.
If you message me on LinkedIn, you'll get a quicker response than on email.
100%. Me too.
I'm by a lot of shit on email that I don't read. Like, it's just complete. The amount of people that say, question for you, Sean. I'm like, another spam technology company trying to sell me stuff. Yeah.
Same.
It's just not good enough. Whereas at LinkedIn, obviously there's still there's a lot of automation on it, but I feel like I can see the person's face when I get the message. I feel more connected to it. And then WhatsApp, they're like levels, aren't they? An email, I don't know you. LinkedIn, I probably know you. WhatsApp, I really know you. Like when we will talk on WhatsApp, but if I don't know someone, I'd feel more comfortable hitting them up on LinkedIn than I would on WhatsApp. So it's the kind of know, like, trust. Like SMS used to be like LinkedIn, where I'd send someone a text if I wasn't that close to them. I wouldn't WhatsApp them. Whereas now I'd probably LinkedIn message them if it's work related, you know?
I feel like email has become, I feel similarly about email as I do about voicemail. So I don't know when the last time you even left a voicemail was. I can't even remember the last time I listened to my voicemails. It just feels so antiquated nowadays. Everyone sends you a voice note on WhatsApp or whatever.
You just get them from weird sales companies, like leaving you a 30-second, or you get people doing it by accident and you hear them in the background in their office talking about you. And then you're like, oh, that was fun. My dad leaves me voicemails by accident all the time in his pocket. Like, a voice note on LinkedIn, though, is a game changer.
I use that all the time.
Yeah, so like exactly. So creating a voice note on LinkedIn is an authentic way to communicate to someone. Yeah. I go through this a lot in my training academy, and it can blow up your response rates because people will
massively.
They hear you. It's not because the amount of automation in LinkedIn, people are always looking. You're always looking for a reason why someone didn't really write that to you, or someone you're always looking to fucking ignore someone. But when someone takes the time to send you a voice note, which is the same as a voicemail, just in a different place.
Yeah.
You again, the reply rates are massive. It's crazy.
Do you know, I've got a big thing about the commodity of effort, I call it. Yeah. And whether it's subconscious or conscious, and more recently it's become a more conscious interpretation for me, when somebody makes the effort to do something and they take their time to do something, the equity associated to that activity will have more credibility. And I say this to my team all the time, take the time to do it, slow down to speed up. The things that you do elevate the potential of that thing being successful. Just bashing spammy emails or in-mails out, you might feel as though you've done the job, but actually the likelihood is you're going to get a low percentage response rate and you might actually be doing your reputation damage. Whereas if you take the time to make a voice note or compose a personalized approach to people, probability is you're going to impress that person, and they're going to recognize the effort that you took to do it. I always use the kitchen analogy.
Well, I teach people how to use LinkedIn better for a living, right? And one of the things I do is I don't tell them to use automation, and automation is a great time saver. Like, you can literally message so many people every day but I think I'd rather do less and do it well. I'd rather do 5 messages a day that come from me that are authentic, because I can get the responses. So I'd rather get, I might go from 5 to 10 or 15 if I've got time. But yes, it's a numbers game, like anything. The more messages you send out, and some people just love spamming email. They'll just email everyone. But I've never been that kind of character. I'd rather have a really manual but controlled process. Like, I follow something called 20-10-5. I do it every day. I teach my clients to do it every day. And it works, right? Question on that. Like you mentioned, I did impact the way you saw social media back in 2019.
Massively.
What is the actual tangible benefit to it? Because people think it's a vanity project. People think, they just love it. The yellow people just love it. No, I mean, I'll tell you what mine has been. But how would you describe your tangible benefits of putting yourself out there and being consistent on platforms like LinkedIn?
Absolutely, mate. It's very tangible for me. Social capital is one of the commodities associated to success in the digital era that we live in. And what it does is it creates proximity to people and markets that without it, you'd never be able to reach. It gives you a consistent opportunity to establish credibility. And if you're doing it consistently enough, people feel as though they get to know you. Yeah. It sounds silly to say this, Sean, but I've been in restaurants out here where people have come over to me. It happened recently with someone that's really senior in the broadcasting industry in Saudi Arabia. He came over to me, he said, "You're Chris Redmond, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you mind if I get a picture with you? I'd follow you on LinkedIn." Brilliant BD, absolutely brilliant BD. And that's a bridgehead into my final and the most important point. And I know you're a massive advocate of this, mate. Making content for content's sake is vanity. It's about how you farm and harvest what comes off the back of that. And if you don't, it's the equivalent of having a digital orchard and not farming the apples. It's a waste of time. It's a total waste of time. Right. So, that's what I think a lot of people are remiss at doing. Make the content, absolutely, but make it and then make sure you harvest the benefit, because if you don't, you're just wasting your time.
100%. I was in Belfast on a 40th weekend last week, lost my phone, totally different story, annoyed the crap out of me. But anyway, first day I'm in this bar and this guy comes up to me and I'm like, I've had a few Guinness at this point, and he's just like, "You're the recruitment podcast guy." And I was like, "Fuck yeah." You work for Lawrence Harvey. I mean, if you're watching, thanks, mate. You get a little ego boost. But yeah, I get it all the time. I get it loads of. I go to Sheffield United games now with my in-laws, and I'm in this kebab shop at the end of the season. Sheffield United has been promoted. I've been drinking all day. I'm getting a lamb shawarma, and I'm stood at the front of the counter, and this kebab shop's packed, and all I hear is "Haksu, Haksu," and it's just 2 hammered lads who have been on my academy in the past.
Brilliant.
I don't know them, and I'm just like, I mean, it is mad. And look, that's the funny stuff, but the reality is, you've got clients all over the world now, right? That you could never have
absolutely.
And I've got clients in, people listening to this show and working with me in New Zealand. I've never even been there, all over. And it isn't a vanity project. It's about creating awareness, tracking the engagement, and following up, harvesting, following up at, and opening doors, right? And that's what sells people. That's the best
And
bit.
there's a peripheral but tangible benefit as well, Sean, which is, we've got 92 active clients at Redholt. And there's a few other interesting stats that I'll share with you in a minute. But, even when you're not proactively BDing with those people, what it serves to do if you're regularly online talking about and creating value as well, you've got to be creating value. If it's just crappy posts, people get frustrated and bored with that. But it keeps you at front of mind with those people that you might not have spoken to for a month or 2 months or whatever. But if they're seeing you regularly, it keeps you front of mind. So when they do have an opportunity, they log on to LinkedIn, they see Redders again, I've got something for you, I need you. Whereas otherwise you just fall into the background noise of life.
Yeah, you're reliant on phoning them every 6 months. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's not always the new people. It's the relationships you build. Like, I know what you're up to all the time. You know what I'm up to. It's not... Yeah. It's you like, how's the baby? Like, we're staying abreast of each other.
Yeah.
It's great. One other topic completely unrelated to work is fitness, right? And I've been on a journey since June where I've been changing my habits consistently. And again, we're not even talking about this together, but I've watched you do a similar thing at a similar time. Yeah. And I want to find out more about it. So talk us through your journey, because you look a hell of a lot different than you did even when I met you in March. Never mind. Looking back on that video of 4 years ago.
Yeah.
A different guy. So what's been happening?
So I went for a medical in March or April this year. And I knew that I was carrying a bit too much timber. And at the back of my mind, if I'm totally honest with you, Sean, I probably knew the reasons why. I've had a really turbulent last 10 years, bad divorce, a lot of dad guilt about not spending enough time with my kids, pressure of building a business. And, I'd definitely been drinking too much, like
how much
too regularly. Well, you've had a stressful day. You get home, you want to chill out, you have a glass of wine. The glass of wine pretty quickly turns into the bottle. And then too often with me, it was turning into 2 bottles, and that
like Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. A number of nights a week,
And Amanda, would she do it with you or not?
Nah, not really. I mean, Amanda would have a glass of wine, but she's a bit more tempered than me, And it'd be the same. It'd be the same if I went out for a beer. My brother always used to joke and say, you drink 3 beers to every beer that I drink. Like you're a beast. But I've got a fundamental belief that people use alcohol to cover pain. And there was a lot of stuff that I was carrying. Anyway, fast forward, right, I was getting bigger and bigger. And if you look at the podcasts that we've done over the years, you can see that. I watched them back last night. I sent them to my brother, actually. He was like, wow, look at you, fat boy. But so I went for this medical and he said to me, look, Chris, for your body composition and size, you should have about 2 liters of what they call visceral fat, your internal fat in your body. He said, you're carrying like 6.5 liters of fat. That's pushing down on all your organs. It's increasing your blood pressure because your heart's working harder to push your blood around your body. He told me a few things about the chemicals that were in my blood as well. And he said to me, you're basically pre-diabetic. Like next week I could be prescribing to you, insulin or whatever, diabetic treatments. And he said, at your age, you can still fix this. But if you don't, in 10 years, you're definitely going to be on a number of different medications that you will be on for the rest of your life.
And you're heading down a stroke, heart disease, heart attack.
Yeah, totally. He said absolutely all of that, and the diabetes thing. My granddad was diabetic as well. So I took that really seriously. And I came out of there, and they say change happens in a second in your head. It's enacting it that takes time. I literally walked out of that clinic here in Dubai and the change had happened. I was like, I'm going to lose weight. So I was like 105 kilograms, something like that, around that. I was always bobbing between 100, 110 for the last couple of years, just getting bigger and bigger. And then since April, I've lost 35 kilograms. Just by, kilos, yeah. So, and now my zone is between kind of 72 and 77 and I weigh myself every day and I know what I need to do.
Yeah, we're about the same because I've never gone anywhere near, I've never got over 83 ever. But I sit naturally, I'm 5'9.5". If I don't work on it, I will naturally sit about 82.
Yeah.
And I don't like myself at 82. I'm not fat, but I'm a bit round. I've never let myself go beyond that. And I don't drink much in the week and but I fighting fit in my early 20s at 72 kilos. And I've been thinking I want to get back to somewhere similar. And then I stopped drinking a lot, changed my diet completely. I don't eat breakfast anymore. I walk everywhere. I train 3 times a week's weight. I followed this plan basically since June. And now I went to Belfast 74 kilos. And then I came back 77 2 days later.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's 3 things I've done, mate. There's
5.2 or something today. So we're probably very similar. But what have you done? You managed that? That is insane.
So
it's 35 kilos.
The main thing, there's 3 things. Number 1, I've just become more aware.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely amazed at how many calories we take on nowadays that you just don't need. You absolutely don't need them. Yeah, well, drinking's the next thing. So I haven't had a beer or a wine since April. If I do drink now, I just drink vodka, and I'll drink it with just vodka and soda water. Yeah, I haven't had a beer or a wine for 6 months. Wow. And the beer for me was the main thing. It's like every beer you have. Huh?
Do you not miss beer or?
No, not at all. I don't miss it at all. And it's because of that mindset I had as soon as I walked out of that clinic. And then the other thing is I go for these like massive walks, like 8 or 10 kilometer walks. And sometimes I'll do the lap twice. So I'll do a 16 kilometer walk, try and do that once a week. But I do the walk 3 times a week. So, the number of calories you're taking on is much lower. The things that you're putting into your body much healthier, and then you're exercising to get that kind of balance right. And it just fell off, mate. And I feel so much more better.
I do like really high intensity, and even the running. My knees are screwed from running. We've done a lot of running, and I tried to run every day last year. I'm in better shape now, and I've not run in 2023 once because of my knee.
Well, Sean, do you remember, mate, in lockdown, I ran 10K a day. I ran 10K a day in lockdown. And I think 1 month I did the equivalent of 7 marathons, and I was drinking a bottle of wine every night, at least.
Because when you run and you're hungrier, so you eat more because you've expended your exercise, and then you think you deserve a drink, so you have this like double whammy effect on it, and then you go again. Whereas I will have a couple of beers. I'd probably have more. I'll have like 6 beers at a weekend. I'll have 2 on a Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. Like I kind of look forward to them. But I know how many calories are in a beer, which I never thought about before.
It's like a little bag of chips.
And I'll have to eat less around it. Like I have to. I can't have like the big fuck off meal and the dessert and the beers. Like I just won't do it. And not eating in the morning's another one that I used to think breakfast was really important. And I'm like, fuck it. I personally don't touch it.
You're not hungry, yeah.
No, but I've not touched food. I'll eat about 1 o'clock.
The other thing, mate, is since coming off the booze quite a lot, my ability to reflect on my life, to look forward on what I want to do with my life, to just be, better, just better. Yeah. Is like through the roof. The businesses that I've started recently, I think I've got a direct correlation with my increased capacity to think through things and execute on things and make plans and think clearly about what I want to spend my time doing. So, yeah, mate, the benefits are absolutely amazing. And I don't think I've ever lacked confidence, but I do feel more confident now because I know I look better.
What about Dubai though, as a place? Like, is that not?
Well, I think that
the brunch culture, like, it's so.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think it'd be the easiest place because of the weather's every day. You can go for a walk and not have to think. Like yesterday, I wanted to go for a walk and the wind was so strong. It was like horizontal wind. I was like, I don't even want to go out. Fuck that. I've actually got a treadmill under my desk now that I walk on while I'm working.
I love that.
Just to solve that. But Dubai has got every day you can genuinely guarantee you can exercise. But
it's a choice.
By God, it's a fun place to go and have a drink. So how are you managing that?
Well, it's a choice, right? So for the first year, I just ballooned because I was absolutely loving the Dubai brunch lifestyle. And now we live in an amazing apartment block, there's a complex with some really cool bars and restaurants in the complex. So if I want to go for a drink there, all I've got to do is get in the lift. I don't even have to get in a taxi or anything like that. And every night, Amanda would go to bed fairly early, but I'll just pop downstairs and look at this amazing view while I sit outside and have a beer or whatever. You're doing that more nights than not, and not exercising, you're going to become a right fat boy like I did.
And where are you living now? Because weren't you in Dubai Hills?
Yeah, so we're no, not Dubai Hills, Emirates Hills. So we're just over the road from Emirates Hills in a place called Vida, which looks out over the Emirates golf course. It's lovely. It's a bit frustrating as a fanatical golfer to wake up every morning and look at other people playing golf when you know you've got a busy day where you're not going to play any. But yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, mate, I'm jealous. So 35 kilos down, feeling good, you know. You're like, look, mate, you're doing a lot, and I think we are similar. Like we're 100-mile-an-hour people. You've got 4 kids, I've got 3 now, and there's a chance I'll have another. I always said, literally, I said to Lauren about an hour ago, like, we're just talking about you coming on the show, and I was like, you know, his life's quite similar, and the 2 kids, and every time I know I'm talking to you, I'm like, I want to go to Dubai, and she's like, well, we're gonna do it. Like we know we're gonna do it in 10 years' time when Gabe and Amir are old enough, and then. I was like, do you think we'll have another kid? And she's like, now I think we might. Like, we both said no, but...
I think Amanda would. I think I'm done.
Yeah. Well, 4, I think, is the number you've got. I don't think all of that. But, you're running businesses, you're managing family, you've got kids, you're trying to be in all places. If you can stay mentally and physically fit, you've got a chance. If you let that go, everyone
absolutely.
Else... What
100%.
Final question for you, then, is about the future, because... I think you're in a very different place than you were when we spoke before. You know, your business is more mature. You're 7-8 years in. You're internationally living. But you did mention earlier on that you and Amanda now want. You know, you're on the same page. So talk us through this vision you've got for the future. Where are you heading? What can we expect from Redholt?
So Amanda's always seen Redholt as a lifestyle business, and as much as I've enjoyed it being that, I've always had a vision to do something with it. You know. I've been involved with private equity before in a number of different ways. I went through the whole life cycle with NP Group when that transaction happened of creating the information memorandum, doing the beauty parades with the potential acquisitive entities. I loved it. It was a brilliant experience. I'd advocate it for anybody. And over the last 6 months or 9 months, Amanda's got on the same page as me, where we're on an exit run, right? And I've got a 24-slide document where I've really gone into a forensic amount of detail about where we've come from, where we are, and where we are at the moment. I've affectionately called the strategic gap, and I know exactly what we need to do to build a bridgehead to the trajectory that we need to get on to get to the multiple to shift the business. And it's an empowering feeling because on a daily basis now with my business partner, we're on the same page, you know, we're on the same journey. And I think that makes our communications much more succinct. It makes the lens that we look at the business through a lot more succinct. And my role is evolving as well, Sean. You know, as we were saying earlier, I've always been the BD, like the BD engine singularly. There's been no plural about it within Redholt. But we've got to change that because otherwise that's a massive reason for someone to not want to buy or invest in Redholt. So we're speaking to a couple of pretty big names at the moment about potentially coming in as non-exec directors. We received their proposals this morning and we'll be reviewing them later. And we're working on a whole host of things to do with the business that we need to change. We brought in a guy called Paul Folland, who was my operations director when I was at NP Group. He's now client success director, and he's totally focused on the estate of clients that we've got, these 92 active contracts, and hunting and farming by creating value in the relationships with all of those entities, because I'm convinced that the share of wallet we're taking there isn't 100% in all of them. So there's a lot to hunt and farm from there. And then we've got a few people joining us in the new year that I hope will be able to get some incremental logo generation going when it comes to the BD side of things and net growth. So
you need to diversify who gets the new business, and you need to work harder to generate more business from existing customers and previous customers.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And, we've got an amazing amount of latent potential within our existing consultants to be more BD focused, but it's kind of hard when they've never had to be. And then you ask them to turn on the tap, and they've been so successful at delivery with this great methodology. And it's like, you're speaking to candidates all the time. You only have to ask them a 7-second question that might open the gate on that organization becoming our next client. So it's just about habitual practices and trying to weave it into the fabric of day to day to try and turn it. But that's the North Star now. We've got a really clear plan. We know what the metrics are. The governance is really good. And I worked with James Kahn and the recruitment entrepreneur guys here for 6 months. Yeah. And I learned a lot about the way a business is evaluated in the recruitment sector for investment or acquisition. So I just turned that and made it into a bit of a mirror and did the same evaluation on Redholt. So I've got a really clinical view of all of the areas that we need to work on in order to get the business into a shape where the multiple we can generate in a transaction will be as optimized as possible.
And how many people do you, because again, you've never been a headcount jockey. Like some clients think hire. You've never been that. Your team's 8 now and you're super profitable. You live an amazing life. But that probably will need to change a little bit, I imagine, because
it will.
Ability in the team, right? If you're too small and you're acquired, the team, there's just not enough.
Absolutely. One of the guys that's hopefully coming in the non-exec director capacity, I liked it actually because he got me to present to him on the business before he decides to associate his brand to Redholt. And I thought, I like that. He's protecting his brand, not just grabbing all the Ned jobs he can. And he asked me a similar question, and we've got that growth forecast in line with the revenue forecast. We anticipate we'll get up to 15 or 16 heads. His input was, I think you'll probably need to be more. And I think what you need to start focusing on now is bringing in people and how you indoctrinate and train and incubate those people with your methodology. You need to prove, to your point earlier, Sean, you need to prove that that's scalable and that you can get people learning it. So we're actually developing a thing at the moment, an online learning management system called the RH Academy, Redholt Academy. And I'm pretty excited about that. But that's going to be the foundation of the program that me and the rest of the leadership team are pulling together, that new starters will go through at Redholt to become what we're going to call a Redholt black belt.
Wow. Sounds exciting.
Hopefully, mate.
So the team in 5 years, how big do you think you'll be in terms of headcount?
We won't be more than 20 people. I think we might need more than the 15 because, we'll probably need more leaders to just manage the structure of the business there. But we won't be more than 20 people. If we do the pop-up thing, the hybrid thing, that'll be part of the group. And then that will, to a large extent, that'll be determined by the ambition of the people that are running those pop-ups. But we'll see. We'll see what happens and what guidance we get from these Neds.
What happens to you after that? So you sell it, you move on. What have you got a vision for the next wave? Because you're not going to retire, right? You're too busy. You're too energetic.
Yeah. I haven't really. I've obviously got these other businesses, and like I said, I get a new idea every week. But I do really love lecturing. I love the MBA stuff that I do. I get a lot out of that. I love the connections that I make because, like, when I'm lecturing on an executive MBA course, and there's 50 people on that course from all over the world, they're all executives. It's lecturing on that has been amazing for BD for me because a lot of them come to me afterwards and want to talk to me about their businesses and how they incorporate some of the principles that I advocate in the lectures into their business, and inevitably some of them use Redholt. So, but I really get a lot out of that. I like doing that a lot, and if I could do those sort of courses, MBAs or training in some sort of capacity, that might be the winter of the Redders career. We'll see what happens.
I like it, mate. You're an absolute legend. 3rd time on the show. Thanks so much. If anyone ever wants to reach out to you, I know the answer, but you'll be okay to them dropping you a LinkedIn message and
always, mate. I believe if you give good, you get good. So if I can help people, I actually really like helping people who would traditionally be seen as my competitors. It creates good equity for your rep. So,
this industry, I believe there's enough for everyone. Together,
absolutely,
we achieve more, learn from each other. So look, I'll make sure you're tagged in everything. Anyone who wants to reach out to Chris, I can genuinely vouch for the fact the guy will always get back to you pretty quick. And that's probably why we've kept in such a great relationship. And we'll have you back on for part 4, mate. We want to see how you get on with this journey. I want to make sure you're tracking. I'll hold you accountable, all right?
Stay skinny.
Stay skinny and stay profitable. That's the plan.
It's been a pleasure, Sean. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.